It's the Aubrey Show with a special guest star. Good enough. It's good enough.
You should watch Mythic Quest.
Hello, and welcome back to the Aubrey Show, the only show where we consistently put quantity over quality. Um, I'm your host, Aubrey, and I'm here. Sorry, I got a bit of pill in my mouth. Um, I'm here to talk about a couple things. First, I actually want to do my little video diary introduction thing. Um, This is a video diary. I feel like this is explicitly made between two set times, 9:30 and 11, which means there's no effort put into this. I don't script out a single word, and I hardly even edit it. So, here's the video diary portion. So you guys are really vying for my attention today. I have, I just started watching Mythic Quest, and God knows I was tempted to just binge that all night, but I took a break for you guys. Um, and also the Peacemaker show, I just remembered dropped, I think literally today, and I don't know how many episodes that has out, but even if it's just one, I need to watch that shit because I am excited. Love DC, and it seems to be a fun show. Those are the two things, by the way. It was two. It was two things. Point being, um, this is not the first thing that I would like to do, but I'm nothing if not a very loyal to my zero audience members. I'm very loyal to myself and the fact that this was my New Year's resolution. So, you know, you do what you do. But as far as, the actual topic, the actual show goes, um, today we're talking about good enough, which is a concept that I'm sure that you've heard a million fucking times. So I'm going to say it one more time because in case you haven't noticed, I'm not exactly putting the most effort into today's video. I'm sorry. It's very rude to say. Um, but this is honestly going to fall under the writing advice. I'm going to put this on the writing advice playlist with the rest of them because it is a concept that I feel is explored very often and yet at the same time not often enough. I'd consider it one of the big three um, writing advice is. And if you're wondering what the three are, um, my personal opinion, it's read your writing over again out loud, which you're going to get from everybody. Um, Good enough, and probably like learn how to form a creative space, which is kind of what I talked about a little bit in my improvisation and writing video. I don't know. I might do another on that. Um, Point being, this is really important. So the idea of good enough, um, imagine perfectionism, but not that. Because we as artists, and often actually we as a society, we're trained to recognize perfectionism as a trait that is good. You know, you want your workers to mention perfectionism as a weakness on their resume because everybody does. It's good to be perfect. That's always desirable. Why would you not want to be perfect? And the idea of good enough is rejecting that. And the important part of the practice of good enough is recognizing the bad part of perfection. As I said, it's very idolized. It's very put up there. But the important thing to recognize about perfection, the thing that makes it bad, is that nothing on this earth is perfect. You go back and watch the Star Wars movies with a genuinely critical eye, or don't. Honestly, don't. But if you do watch them back with a genuinely critical eye, um, they're not perfect movies. The writing is not immaculate, to say the least, but they are good enough movies. They are a space fantasy, odyssey, adventure, whatever you want to call it, because that's what they need to be. They don't need to have the writing of something like Seven Psychopaths, which I will eventually talk about because it might be perfect. Shut the fuck up. um, but This is so revered as a piece of art, even though it's imperfect. And you need to ask yourself why when you create art. You need to ask yourself, why does Star Wars get so revered despite not having every aspect of it be worthy of reverement? You know? Why is it good enough? So the trick to making a work good enough, and I want to stress that there's not super a universal trick. This is just kind of a half universal trick that works for like basically everything. But it doesn't immediately make every work good enough. There's a lot of complicated things that go into making a good enough work, and I may or may not get through it over all of the episodes of this. Um, but the trick to making a work good enough, a little trick that you can employ, is focus on your strong suits. Star Wars didn't focus on creating something that's well written. They didn't focus um, on this weird sibling kiss. They didn't focus on making everything ever tie together. They focused on their main plot. They focused on the fact that they have this wonderful villain and backstory and everything laid out. They focused on the fact that their universe is so genuinely beautiful and it needs to be explored. And they exploited that to distract you from all the parts that weren't perfect. It's a very distracting film, and that's what makes it such an enjoyable piece of media, because it doesn't necessarily have to be perfect, it just has to be good enough to distract you from all of the parts that are imperfect, you know? So when you're writing, what you have to do is you gotta realize, what's my strong suit in this writing? I gotta focus on that first. Um, and I guess I'll cut. I don't know. So when you're writing, I want you to pick to actively just choose two or three, honestly, one or two, one or two, or two or three, depending on how long your piece is, moments. Um, these can be like character moments. These can be shots that you have in your mind if you're writing a screenplay. This can be anything, but they have to be big. Pick out those things and say, I want this to be perfect. Now build everything around that. When you're writing, you can have good characters, but you don't have to have good characters. And that's a lot of the times when the improvisation rules that I stated in that video, in the improvisation video, can fail, is when you just don't have the energy to expend to make characters, or you don't need characters for a work. I encourage you to make characters in a work, but you don't necessarily always need them if they aren't coming easy to you. Sometimes what you need is a sprawling cityscape, and you need ways to show that off. So write that into your script. Make that the important thing in the script, you know? Well, make a couple more important things, but that's one of them. That's the one we got to focus on. That's the one we got to make perfect. And if you make that perfect, the rest of the piece is going to be good enough. So there is perfectionism in good enough. And I should have cut before I said that. Whatever. There is perfectionism in good enough. And might not have made this clear earlier in the video. Hell, you might not have even watched earlier in the video. But perfectionism, I stated originally as an enemy of good enough. Good enough is supposed to eliminate perfectionism, but really, good enough is just a framework for perfectionism to live, because many writers are perfectionists. Not all writers, but many go into there and they say, I'm going to make the perfect work. I want this to be my last work. I want this to be the work that I'm remembered by. You know? And what you need to get in your mind as a perfectionist writer, you need to get, I want this moment to be what I'm remembered by. Because that's what's going to keep you able to comprehend. No brain, really, no brain that I know of can comprehend an entire story with a million different fully fleshed out characters in their heads, and just get that down to a fucking perfect thing. But what every brain can comprehend is two, three, one. I don't know why I keep on saying that in a weird order. Up to 3 moments of perfection. Up to 3 moments. Usually character interactions, usually environment stuff. Anything that you can think of in your script that you want to be perfect, that you can genuinely noodle away at for, I mean, and it's going to be a long time compared to the other scenes, of course, because this is like a 30-second moment. But when you noodle away at a 30-second moment for an hour, it's long in comparison to other 30-second moments, but that hour was not going to be better spent on anything else. It's better than spending years trying to perfect every bit of your work. Just get that 30 seconds down. Put out your work and then revise it, and then revise it, and then revise it. But first, you got to put out that work. That's where good enough really shines. And yeah, that was basically it for today. um, to wrap everything up into a nice little tight little bundle so that people can skip to the end of this video if they want. When you're writing, just try and calm that perfectionism spirit. Contain it to 2 to 3 scenes in your writing, depending on how long the thing is, 1 to 2 if it's shorter. Just moments that you want to get perfect or elements that you want to perfect. And then focus hard on those, but you know, those are your nebulous things. Everything else needs to be just good enough, just serviceable enough to get your moments across. And that's what's going to really help you write. Um, as for your homework for today, um, I want you to go 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 and open up a Google Doc, set yourself an hour-long timer, and write yourself out a short story about anything. I'd suggest putting on some music. You can get some inspiration from that, definitely. But just if you have one in your mind, just write a short story about anything. Write a script about something, a really short thing. Don't worry too much about formatting or anything like that. Just write from your heart and see what you can come up with. And that's going to help you get words on the paper. That is good enough. It doesn't super help you train the one moment that I thought about because I didn't tell you to before you did it come up with one moment. You can do that if you want, but I don't know, your one moments are going to shine through more in fully fledged out scripts. This is more of just an exercise. So that's your homework. Um, I don't think I have any other traditions, so is Aubrey out.
You should
Goddamn.
watch Mythic Quest. It has Danny Pooty and also a girl who affirms my gender identity. Scoop a doop bop boo da